it's a game. Product analytics tools are all about balance. Now, typically in a tool evaluation scenario, or looking at any type of technology that you're using in your organization, you will also have to consider balance. And this is what is kind of funny about this whole thing, is that matching requirements and being low effort basically is every single tool evaluation that you've ever done. This always comes down to this. It always comes down to, does it meet our requirements and how much resources is it going to take? So product analytics tools, they start the same way as every other tool in your organization. If you're looking for a tool that can send your customers WhatsApp messages automatically 7 days before their subscription is going to run out, it's also going to be a balance of, does it meet all of our requirements? And how much is it going to cost in time or money? So it's about finding the sort of balance between those two things that fit for your organization. And so now if we know that all the tools start with the same basis, where do they differentiate? What features analytics tools have? The first group of features, we can call them metrics. Everybody knows what a metric is, but here are some examples. We have things like sessions, engagement, events, retention, conversion, funnels, site search. There are all types of different metrics in there. We will get to the topic of measuring versus metrics later on, because I know that some people are already talking about that. They are not the same thing. Second group, reporting. So this is about maybe grouping things together into one particular view. Can be a real-time report. It could be some kind of trend report. Could be some kind of segmentation. We could be identifying devices. These are just examples, right? It could be anything. Then we have additional features. This is where all of the tools in the market, they are a little bit different, right? But we have A/B and multivariate testing. We have alerts that can happen. We have targeting or APIs. Maybe we have even some automated quality assurance. We have user access, role management, cohort analysis, heat map, session replay, integrations with other tools. There are so many possibilities here. It's a very, very broad section. And lastly, we also have things like user identification. This is about like geolocation or demographics or stitching devices together when somebody logs onto your product first with their laptop and then they decide to pull out their mobile phone because they get an email from you. It's about putting these two pieces of information together. There's a lot of different features. Somebody asked, how do I determine what tool fits my requirements? This is exactly how you do it. You have a list of tools with a lot of the features that they have, and you say whether this feature is good or not. Why not? It's an easy way to do it. And then you discover one of these tools, it has all the features that you want, it has good pricing, and it fits into your culture. Done. No problem. This is a very simplistic view. If you want to do it this way, you can. Sure, there's no problem with that. But you should consider adding a little bit more flesh. Because what you're doing here is you're just looking at features. You are missing a complete dimension. You're missing all of your requirements. And so what I have provided with you is a gift. Attached as a resource to this lesson in Notion is a full template for a tool evaluation if you want to do one. It has, on the left side, you will have columns where you can put your requirements. And then in each column, you will list each tool and you can say to what degree these tools fulfill those requirements. Let me give you an example. You have a tool that has feature X, let's say cohort analysis. Now, cohort analysis can be used in many different ways, probably 200 different ways. But let's say that two of your requirements can be solved with cohort analysis. But those requirements could also be solved with something else. They could be solved with a different type of analysis too. So you have to decide, do you prioritize cohort analysis or do you prioritize the other feature as answering this requirement? That is up to you. The explicit tracking is what you are probably most familiar with. When you want to orchestrate your tracking, when you want to capture data, you're going to go to your developer, or you're going to go to someone who can assist you, or you can possibly do it yourself as well. But you're going to send data to the tool explicitly. This is also kind of classic, right? This is like how Google Analytics is set up too. If you want to have events sent to Google Analytics, then you will send events to Google Analytics. They don't capture it by default. They do not do it automatically. Generally, only page view is default here. Everything else can be introduced at any time. But this is the big thing. There's no data historically available. You can start tracking your purchase process, how to purchase a subscription to your product on 1st of November, but you will not have any data before that. That is the big thing about explicit. Now, of course, it doesn't have a huge load behind it, right? Because it's not continually measuring. So you don't need to also figure that out. So that is the thing about retroactive. So what about implicit or retroactive? Basically, it's the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. Retroactive tries to capture as much as possible about what is happening on the page by default. And it sends all of that things to the analytics tool. And your first reaction might be, wow, that's amazing. Mind blown, right? But guess what? This also has work, because the tool by default does not know what your product is, right? You have to tell it what everything is. So you need to define these events at a later stage to be able to use them in reports, segments, and dashboards. Now, historical data will be available because as soon as you installed the tracking code, whatever, we'll get to that in a second, then it captures. But there's a very big asterisk here. Actually, the asterisk is very small on this screen, but the asterisk is huge. You need to understand that sometimes the historical data will not be understandable for you. When we configure these tools, then, irrelevant of which approach we take, it will always be the same process. How does data get captured? And what about data quality? And how do we define these events and segments and reports? You have to define events whether you want to or not. You have to. Whether you do it before as explicit or whether you do it after in implicit tracking or retroactive tracking. It doesn't matter. You still have to define events. So the order might be a little bit different, but those things will always come up. We need to have a measurement plan. You know that you know how to select the right tool. You know whether to pick a screwdriver or a hammer because you understand what problems you're trying to solve. And now you need an overall plan. This is where you start. You start with a measurement plan, which has, in the first step, a strategic objective. We will be, Anjit, we will be ending in around 10 minutes or so. And then in the Q&A, you can take a short break, of course, and come back. You start with a strategic objective. Before you consider what metrics to capture or measure, you need to be certain about what your strategic objective is. My strategic objective for my boat that we are on right now is increase customer engagement. I'm trying to increase engagement. I want to have the maximum amount of engagement that I can out of this course. That is the strategic objective of this course. Then I have to consider what my product goal is. So once my strategy is clear, I need to consider what product goal will drive this strategy. My product goal is to increase customer self-sufficiency. Guess what? I'm trying to give all of you the resources that you need so that you don't have to direct message me everything. so that TPF doesn't get thousands and thousands of emails asking for resources or thousands and thousands of messages. That is making you, my customer today, self-sufficient in learning. So we are kind of doing something a bit meta here. We are talking about drafting a measurement plan as part of this course by using this course as an example. Why not? We can do it. So your strategy is clear, and now you have a product goal that will drive this strategy. Increasing customer self-sufficiency will increase customer engagement. That is your assumption. Then you go to, once you have your product goal, you need to determine what success criteria you can use to see if you're meeting that goal or those goals. There can be more than one. So we want to, as strategically, increase customer engagement, which means that our product goal will be to increase self-sufficiency. So I want to make all of you have the resources you need. And here is our success criteria. At least 30% of all the service requests are resolved in 24 hours. Now, this is not to say that I'm telling TPF they have to answer all of your questions within 24 hours. That's just a suggestion, but I think you know what I mean, right? Basically, I want all of these answers to be given within 24 hours for 30% of those cases. This is a great case. Many companies have customer success, right? So then I need to talk about my KPI. If I have a success criteria, then I can decide what I need to measure. Specifically, the thing that I need to measure in my product analytics tool or in my analytics tool. So my key performance indicator or metric, number of service requests, average resolution time per service request. If I measure those two things, I will be able to determine how many % of service requests are resolved in 24 hours. I will then contribute towards customer self-sufficiency, and I will increase customer engagement through that strategically. You're probably all a little bit confused by this concept. It's not a new concept. It's not even something that I came up with. Service request means like a customer ticket or a question or a problem. Could be someone from the course asking, where do I receive the Notion link? And if someone would answer that within 24 hours, we would be meeting our outcome. Yeah, like a query, exactly. So this is not even something I came up with. It's not that I stole it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that this is a well-formulated concept. Key performance indicator is another word for metric. What we're just talking about here is something that we are tackling, right?